And we're back with AP as we see it, and we were discussing general managers and that structure in college football using the example from the NFL. But before we proceed, we want to mention our social media platforms. You can check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and X account. Also on Spotify and our YouTube channels at AP as we see it and at AP Stedham. We broadcast the show each week on our YouTube channel at AP as we see it and also on Spotify. Every episode is archived, and you can check out, like as I said, on our Facebook account, Instagram, and X account. We have our listings, but you can have some comments there if you have anything you want us to proceed with and pursue about the show. But anyway, check out our social media platforms. We also want to mention our sponsors once again. Greer's Markets, 29 locations, Alabama, Florida, Mississippi. Lucy's Famous Recipes, and she has the book online you could purchase, the groceries to go, delivered to your home, your office, the different venues. It's family, football, and friends, but now with this March Madness, it's SEC men's and women's basketball. You have the weekly online specials. You have the coloring contest monthly for the children. There's consider Greer's Markets on your special occasions, the holidays, the birthdays, the anniversaries, and for the March Madness, they have the Greer's Bracket competition. You can win some prizes. So check out Greer's for the fresh produce, the dinner essentials, delicious food and snacks at unbeatable prices. And remember, Greer's got it. They guarantee it. We also would like to mention Wind Creek Casinos, the 3 Alabama locations. That is Atmore, Montgomery, and Wetumpka. Atmore, Montgomery, and Wetumpka. Sign up at any location to be a player. They have the amenities at the 3 locations, the restaurants and dining, the cinema, spa, health spa. It's beautiful. Bowling, live performances. They have the cooking school, the events at the amphitheater, the A-list concerts, and the beautiful hotels. So there's fun for everyone at the 3 Wind Creek locations in Alabama, Atmore, Montgomery, and Wetumpka. We said we were going to discuss some of the general managers. We're not going to give you everyone's choice, but just a few of them, just to give you an idea about their background. Some of them, we'll start alphabetically as we always do. It's easier. Alabama has Courtney Morgan. He's a former Michigan offensive lineman. His background is really in player development, but he's one of the highest paid general managers in the country. Arkansas, they hired an interesting person. I told you about Sam Pittman. He wanted somebody to negotiate contracts. He hired a gentleman, Remy Cofield. He played basketball at the University of Pennsylvania. He was with the Boston Celtics as director of scouting, and he was the negotiator. That's his background. He was with the G League, one of their G League teams as well. Auburn, John Miller, associate athletic director, general manager. From Southern Miss, he's operations. That's been his background. At Auburn. Also at Florida, you have Jacob LaFrance. He was with LSU in recruiting. Georgia, Kirby Smart, I'm not sure if he really has somebody as the general manager per se, because he wants to be involved in the whole total process. So Georgia's a little bit different at the moment. Kentucky's GM is Chase, and I won't even try to pronounce his last name, but he's director of recruiting and general manager. He's involved in recruiting. He went to Kentucky. Interesting choice we have at LSU. They actually had the first general manager in college football in the SEC, Austin Thomas. He's a senior associate AD, football administration. He went to Lipscomb. He's the first ever, like I say, college football general manager. His background is personnel and recruiting. Billy Glasscock was Ole Miss. He graduated from United States Sports Academy right here in Daphne. He was involved in personnel, player development, and recruiting. Mississippi State, Terry Prentice, the deputy AD general manager. He was involved in brand development, fundraising. He was graduated from Arkansas. Let me see who else we have on our list here. Moving forward here, let me see. Oh, yeah, Jim Nagy. We all know Jim from the Senior Bowl, executive director. He's now with Michigan. He's now with Oklahoma. He's with Oklahoma, and he was a Michigan graduate. So he was involved in a decade or so in scouting in the NFL. So that's an excellent hire for them, because Jim, as you know, has to reach out to all these schools. He knows about a lot of players around the country. So Oklahoma making a big splash with the hiring of Jim Nagy former executive director of the Senior Bowl. Texas A&M, Derek Miller, the GM, his background is personnel and recruiting. He came from Bowling Green. He graduated from Bowling Green State University. Texas has Brandon Harris, the general manager. He played football at North Carolina and LSU. His background is in recruiting. And Vandy, an interesting general manager, Barton Simmons. He played defensive back at Yale, played high school ball, I think, with Clark Lee, the coach. He was involved with some of the recruiting services. So that's just a look at some of the backgrounds of the general managers in the SEC. So you can see it varies from school to school, but it's a critical position nowadays to have the general manager. They have to be involved in the evaluation of talent. They have to be involved in negotiating the NIL number. They're looking at the transfer portal all the time. That's a fluid situation. It keeps you busy every day. You're checking those, the wire for any transfers, or you're reaching out to high school coaches that have college players that are not happy at their current situation. So we know that the general manager is a crucial position in the world of college football now, and who knew that would be something that originated in the pros with the general manager, and now you have it in college. It's a new world. It's not your granddaddy's college football world. But anyway, we also thought we'd take an interesting turn and look at the toughest team on everyone's SEC schedule. The toughest SEC opponent on their schedule. We'll start alphabetically, as we always do. Alabama. I think the toughest team they play is Georgia on September 27th. And you're going to see a theme when I go through this list. Every team. Arkansas at Texas on the 22nd of November. We have Auburn host Georgia on October 11th. That's their toughest game, I believe. It's all my opinion, of course. Georgia, their toughest game. Let's backtrack here. Florida plays Texas on the 4th of October. They host Texas. Georgia hosts Texas on November 15th. Kentucky hosts Texas on the 18th of October. We have LSU at Alabama November 8th. We have Ole Miss at Georgia. We know that they beat them by 18 points last year. That game's going to be circled for Georgia. Ole Miss at Georgia on the 18th of October. We have Mississippi State hosting Texas on the 25th of October. We have Missouri hosting Alabama on October 11th. We have the Oklahoma-Texas game. So Oklahoma plays Texas in Dallas at the Cotton Bowl. That's on the 11th of October. South Carolina at Ole Miss, I believe, on November 1st. That will be their toughest conference opponent. Tennessee hosts Georgia on the 13th of September. That's early in the season, as always. I think that's Tennessee's toughest game. We have Texas at Georgia on the 15th of November. We have Texas A&M hosting their rival Texas on the 29th. Or they're at Texas, I'm sorry. Texas A&M at Texas on the 29th of November. We have Vanderbilt, and we know this game is circled by everybody, I think, this year. Vanderbilt at Alabama on the 4th of October. So those are some of my predictions and projections for toughest conference opponent this year for each team. And you saw that theme that a lot of times I mentioned Texas, I mentioned Georgia, I mentioned Alabama, and I think the other team I mentioned was Ole Miss, I think. So that gives you an indication of who I think might be some of the better teams in the conference. It's not precise as of yet because we know that they have their spring ball yet to be played, and there's the transfer portal, and there's freshmen that will be coming in this summer, this spring, for spring session of summer. They'll have some summer school involved, so we know that the rosters are not complete, but that's just a little preview right now, projection of the toughest opponent for each team in the conference. And like I said, the team I mentioned the most was Texas, and then I think Georgia was second on that list, and then Alabama, and then we have Ole Miss. But I believe that Texas right now is one of the teams to beat in this conference. Georgia has always recruited well. They'll make a comeback, and I think Kirby Smart, he couldn't be. I don't think he was happy with the way the season ended last year. Double-digit loss in the playoffs to Notre Dame, and double-digit loss on the road to Ole Miss, and they won the conference. They beat Texas in the championship game in Atlanta. Had a bye in the playoff, but I think that Georgia, they want to see if they can do a little bit better, but they have a difficult schedule. But anyhow, that's some of the thoughts we had on the college football season in the SEC and their toughest opponent within the conference. But we're in the middle of March Madness, so enjoy your team, men's team, women's team. Get on the road if you can to see some of these ball games. You'll enjoy yourself. And check us out on our social media platforms at AP As We See It and at AP Stedham, Facebook, Instagram, X account, Spotify, and YouTube channels as well. So we'll see you next week for another episode of AP As We See It. Thank you.